Alright, this is Coach Tedrow here. You guys may be familiar with this program from Mr. Russo's class and some other teachers on campus, but this is what's called Screencast-O-Matic, which allows me to discuss the information while not in class. So in some cases it allows me to do further checking for understanding as you guys are going through and watching the video in class, or for the purposes of this assignment, something that you can watch at home and get the information that we'd be going over in class. It also allowed me to go through some of this content a little bit quicker for some of you, which sometimes you guys think that I go a little too slow in class. And then for some of you who think I go too fast in class, you can come back to this video online and take down notes, listen to it again, and see if there's anything that you may need to add on to things that you already have in your notes or whatever else. So what we're looking at today is pricing. We looked at chapters 3 and 4 over the last few weeks dealing with supply and demand, and so starting today we're going to start looking at pricing, where we bring these two ideas together. So first we have to look at prices as communication. We've discussed consumers and producers communicate using the price system, so we're going to look at that a little closer. So the first example here is if you go into a store and you want to buy a bag of your favorite chips at the gas station across the street or at Stater Brothers or wherever else, what are you going to be willing to pay? Maybe you're willing to pay the $1.99 or the $3.99, but at some point you're going to stop wanting to pay for those chips. And now we're going to look at why. Not just, $7.99 or $10.99 is ridiculous, but from the fact that there's a reason why we think that price is ridiculous. So some of the benefits of the price system. First off is information. The price system gives us the information to make educated judgments on what to buy at grocery stores, at clothing outlets, the restaurants, whatever. Prices of resources from supply tells producers how much they must pay to make their products. To be a good business person, you got to make sure that you're making money on products and not losing money. And from a demand standpoint, us as consumers, we need to know the prices of goods and services to make informed buying decisions, dealing with budgetary issues and how much money we do and do not have. The price system gives us flexibility. It gives us the ability to deal with change when those changes occur, if they're natural changes or at-home changes. Supply and demand for goods changes constantly. There is no consistency to the price system. All you have to do is go to the grocery store from week to week or look at an ad in the grocery store and you will see that very, very quickly and very, very easily. Another benefit of the price system are incentives. We respond to incentives very well. We respond to incentives every day. You show up to school because of incentives. You technically don't have to show up today, but the incentive is that you don't get yelled at home, you get an education, and all those other kind of things. Not to mention the truancy ticket you can get if you don't show up. But it also encourages people in the marketplace to participate in the market itself. So using the ideas of the law of supply and the law of demand, people respond. You've ever gone to the store and did the buy one get one free, or buy 10 of these things and you get a lower price instead of having to pay the one higher price if you only buy one of those items. Those are all things that are incentives, and those are all dictated by the law of supply and the law of demand. Another benefit of the price system is the idea of choice. Okay, we all like to have choices. We like to have the choices of what to watch, what to wear, what to eat. Well, in the case of the price system, the laws of supply and demand allow us to have choice. These choices are usually influenced by incentives, which listed above. We look for the best deal. We want to pay the least amount of money for the best quality item that we have. And then also we're influenced by competition. Okay, if there are not businesses competing for our everyday business, if it's a gas station, grocery store, fast food place, whatever else, then we are going to have to pay a much higher price. If there's only one burger place in the entire city, where are you going to go to get a burger? Well, you're going to go there. What are they going to do because of that? They're going to charge you a higher price. And so that's something that we have to be aware of. It's the idea that if you're going out towards the river or to the desert and you find that one random gas station in the middle of the desert, the price of the gas is not going to be cheaper than when you see it everywhere else. It's going to be much higher because we don't have competition in that geographic area. So thus they're allowed to charge whatever price they would like for that gallon of gasoline. And then the last benefit of the price system is efficiency. And this is brought about in two different ways. One, it provides for the wise use of resources. We've talked about this with natural resources and what we have available, and we have to make sure we do as much with those resources as we possibly can. The prices tell consumers which products consumers want to buy, high versus low. If we only have so much money, we can only buy so many things. So if something is higher in price, maybe we decide to stop buying it. If it's something that's lower in price, maybe we start to buy more of it. And then also efficiency is brought about by quickly delivering information to producers and consumers. All you have to do is look online, get on your smartphone, check a post on Facebook, or look at the news on TV when you get home to see that we can get information immediately. If something happens, we can react to it immediately. We can make those decisions and figure out if there's an earthquake somewhere, if there's some weather system, whatever else. We can make decisions very, very quickly and allow us to make the best decisions possible. Without the price system, we'd have to go back to the old school way of doing things, which would deal with bargaining and all those kind of things. If you ever want to do that, go to the swap meet on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning. If not, we like the price system. But every system, everything we talk about in this class, always has limitations. The first one is a market failure. The price system and the market fails to account for some costs and therefore cannot distribute them appropriately. Okay? Now the idea with a market failure is that sometimes we cannot predict what happens. If we could predict what happens, our life would be much easier, but we don't have that ability. And there are three major limitations that we have. One is externalities. These are where production of goods sometimes result in side effects for people not directly connected with those with the production or consumption of those actually good. And they can be good or bad. On the negative side, something like pollution. You live next door to some chemical plant, you never buy those chemicals, but because it's being made right across the street from you, you get affected by it. That kind of pollution, that kind of idea. Okay, I've been to Hawaii and you go by a sugar factory. You think it smells really nice. No, not so much. It smells horrible. Well, if you're not buying that sugar, you still have to deal with that horrible smell of it being produced. That's a negative externality. You also have positive externalities. This is where you kind of have, let's say you have a restaurant that's been there forever and a new place of business or a factory gets put in next door. Well, the restaurant's going to benefit from new customers coming in for all the different meals of the day. And so sometimes those positive externalities can also throw off the curve when trying to analyze the price system and predict what prices will be at certain times. The second one is the idea of public goods. The price system fails to assign the cost of public goods to all consumers who are using or consuming them. Things like defense, going to court, law enforcement, firefighters. These are things that you don't have to pay for in a separate bill, but because you pay taxes, those are taken care of. Okay, so there's a lot of people who don't agree with some of the things that we do from a military perspective, but they're still paying for it because if you received a separate bill for all those items, you may not pay it. I give the example, if you had to pay a separate fire bill just to protect your house from a fire and you've never been affected by a fire, would you pay it? Well, if you don't pay it and the time comes and your house starts to burn down and you call 911, they say, hey, tough luck, you didn't pay your bill, sorry, we're not going to do it. Or the fire truck drives by and they just toss you a bottle of water and say, hey, good luck, hope that everything works out. We don't want that to happen, and so because of that, something like assigning the value of public goods becomes a limitation of the price system, because there really is no price to be put on those specific items. And then the last limitation of the price system is instability. We all know how fragile everything is. Things change on a momentary basis. Something could have happened at the beginning of the day today at school, and it's completely screwed up your entire day, and maybe this is only second period. So it's one of those things that we understand instability. When our price system from a positive perspective is flexible, it can make the system unstable. It's like one of those little bridges you run across at Disneyland, the barrel bridge. It works, but it could be a little tricky if you're not careful. This also prevents the system from running smoothly. It's hard to predict what's going to happen. And then when major disasters happen, things like severe weather, natural disasters, protests, other things, prices can swing very, very quickly. Going back to Hurricane Katrina, as we used before, you had a gallon of gas who went from $3 a gallon to $15 a gallon because no one else could get gasoline except for one person, or one gas station offered it. So it's very, very hard to predict price systems in instability situations. Like right now, a gallon of gasoline could go either way right now. Prices are very, very high, around $106 per barrel. If the price drops, price of gasoline drops. If it goes up, we're going to start seeing higher and higher gas prices. So none of us want that, especially any of you guys who are driving like myself. And this also prevents producers and consumers from making business and purchasing decisions. So we do have to be very, very careful of that as well. Now, tomorrow when you come to class, we are going to have a little lesson on pricing. So here are just 4 items just to kind of give you an idea of what we'll be discussing. These are 4 very common items, especially for you guys, at least the bottom one is current pricing for everyday items. You have a gallon of milk right around $3.69. Gallon of gas here in Beaumont's about $4.09. You get a big box of Cheerios for your breakfast, is $3.99, and you get your typical 16-ounce Monster, whatever variety you would like, around $1.99. Now those prices are things that don't change a whole bunch. Gallon of gas could change a lot, but the other ones stay constant. And so what we're going to try to do tomorrow is come up with the reasonings using supply and demand and all of the things that we've discussed in the past to figure out why are these prices what they are and what are some things that could possibly change them in the future. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. Hopefully that if you had some questions, you wrote some questions down or you took some notes and you're prepared for class for tomorrow. If you need to look at this again, feel free to do that, and I will see you tomorrow morning.